And we're live with our usual community team Q&A hangout. This week it's myself, Alan Pope, and Nick Skaggs. Hello, Nick.
Hello.
We do this every week. We take turns, and surprise, it's us this week. We answer your questions related to Ubuntu, and if you want to ask us questions, then you can do so in the IRC channel, which you'll find at ubuntu-on-air. If you just go to ubuntuonair.com, then there's a little chat box underneath the video. You can talk to us there. Or you point your IRC client at the IRC channel, ubuntu-on-air. We do this every Tuesday at 4 o'clock UTC. So if you're watching this recorded via YouTube, then bring your questions next time on Tuesday afternoon, and we'll answer them. Have we got any announcements at all this week?
There's a small thing going on this week, in Europe, I believe, right? It's
Yeah.
MWC, perhaps?
Yeah, Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. So there's a whole bunch of people. If you follow anyone canonical on Google Plus or the Twitter account, the @Ubuntu Twitter account, you'll probably see a whole bunch of photos and videos posted by some of the people who are out at MWC showing off a bunch of things, including the next Ubuntu phone after the BQ device, which is the Meizu MX4. I think they're showing off at MWC and showing off an early build of Ubuntu on that device. It's cool, of course.
Yes. I definitely enjoyed seeing all the pictures of the booth setup we have there. Lots of orange everywhere. I saw that Meizu has also been doing some tweets and some Google Plus posts from the event. So it seems pretty exciting. I'm glad that we were able to finally sort of show that off, and I liked one of the articles talking about it's a great quote talking about waiting forever for the Ubuntu phone, and now we have two within a month. So it's a good. I don't know if we can keep this pace, but it is nice to see finally, all this stuff coming online. So options are great, and
Yeah.
I love seeing the new stuff come out there.
Yeah, there's an old gag about you stand waiting for a bus and then three come along at once, and
Right.
waiting for a couple of years for these Ubuntu phones. We've been working on them, working on the software really hard for the last couple of years, and then suddenly there's two of them. And potentially maybe another one after that, as and when the announcement gets made. I can see Mike Hall has reminded us of something we need to mention, that there's an announcement that went out yesterday on the Ubuntu Insights blog. So if you go to insights.ubuntu.com, there's an announcement that Dell have launched Ubuntu loaded machines across a bunch of stores in Latin America. We've talked before a lot of times about how you can buy Dell machines in the Far East and India and China, for example. But now it's coming to Latin America, which is a bit closer to home for someone like yourself. And I realise everyone wants the laptops to be in the store at the end of their road, available immediately and where I can get hold of them, but we're getting there. But it's quite exciting to see them available in additional countries, Western countries as well.
Yeah, I know they're already available in Mexico quite extensively as well. So this getting good coverage, creeping closer and closer. The other interesting thing from Dell, of course, is their new XPS 13, the developer edition laptop, which actually has me slightly tingly. I don't usually go for gadgets actually, but this one,
Nick.
yeah, it's very exciting. I have a Dell laptop now that I bought. It came pre-loaded with Ubuntu, and the experience is really quite nice, and it's tempting. The upgrade is definitely tempting. So we'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah, I've been deliberating about what machine to get to replace my my ThinkPad, and
Indeed.
it's got to that point where I've had it for a few years, and I need to replace it now. And I'm seeing these machines coming along that are quite pretty, and yeah, I quite like one of those Dells as well.
Yeah, it's the screen upgrade that starts to get to you. We have these crazy 4K screens in laptops now, and I'm so far behind that. So.
Yeah, I have one of these 1366 by 768 displays. So
right. Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to ask questions of us. It's rather quiet in the IRC, so join in and ask us anything you like. If it's a support question, we might throw you somewhere else, like Ask Ubuntu or Ubuntu forums. But if it's anything else, then yeah, we'll try and answer it. So should we give a couple of updates that while we're waiting for those questions to come in? I'll mention a few things that we're doing with core apps, and I don't know if you want to mention the autopilot related stuff to get the word out.
Yeah. If there's no questions, they get to listen to us blather. We get to soapbox, so
Exactly. Yeah. The way you shut us up is to ask us questions.
That's correct.
So I just wanted to mention a few things which updating some of the core apps in the phone. We've got some changes lined up which we're hoping to land soon for Calendar. Some updates to the user interface and some reliability improvements which we should be landing hopefully soon. The QA team are currently testing the Reminders app. Reminders is the Evernote note-taking application, and that's currently being tested today, and subject to it passing QA, then we'll update the version in the store. There's so many fixes, it's too many to name, but a couple of the highlights is offline mode, so you don't have to have an Evernote subscription to use the app. And the other big thing is its improved performance for if you do have an Evernote account and you want to synchronize your notes. The synchronization process is way more reliable and copes better with poor network connections, that kind of thing. The Calculator app is also nearing completion for our user interface changes. We've got an update with the design team and a call with the design team scheduled tomorrow to hand over the final updates for the calculator. Once that's done, we'll finish off those outstanding bits of development and again pass that to QA and then put it in the store once it's been approved. There was another app I was going to mention and I can't remember what it was. No, that's enough for now.
All right, and on my end, with my quality hat as usual, trying to make Alan and the rest of the core app developers, lives a bit easier. We want to have a renewed focus on writing some autopilot tests for these apps. They've had some new features now that RTM is landed, and it's time to start playing around again. And so that means time to write some new tests. And as bugs are found, of course, we want to write tests to help prevent further regressions. So anyways, to help with that, I'm actually putting together if anyone has seen or familiar with the Core Apps sponsoring page, we're going to go ahead and put together a Core Apps test sponsoring page, which will list all of the bugs that need updating and the tests that need to be written for the different Core Apps. So look for that very soon. I'll probably announce it on the phone Core Apps mailing list as well as the quality list. And it'll just be a lovely little chart that you can go take a look at, so that you can always know which apps have the most critical needs and where you can be most effective and help out. Oh yes, while Alan is away, I can also mention Michael's pointing out that there's a new porting guide, and that is something very cool if you guys haven't seen it. Actually, Mike, I wonder if you have the link, because I don't have it handy. Hopefully Mike will link within the IRC channel.
If you go to wiki.ubuntu.com/touch/porting, I think that redirects to the right place.
Excellent.
So yeah, if you go to wiki.ubuntu.com/touch, there's a bunch of links across the top. and one of them is porting. And we used to host the porting guide on the wiki. We've now moved it onto developer.ubuntu.com, so that it's got the same look and feel and a uniform way for us to maintain those documents. And so you'll find it on developer.ubuntu.com. But that's the quick and easy way to get to it. But yeah, it's great to see that the porting guide has kicked off a couple of ports already. Some were already in progress, but I've seen there's one for the OnePlus One phone, which is quite a popular phone. It's a really nice phone. A friend of mine has one, and really nice devices. And someone in the community has started a port to the OnePlus One. It's not finished yet. There's some bits that don't work. The bits that usually don't work when the port starts is Wi-Fi, 3G, location, those kind of things that don't work initially. But it's in progress, and if you want to help, then by all means join our Ubuntu Touch channel, and we can put you in touch with the people who are porting it. Especially useful if you have one of those devices and want to port as well. So yeah, cool. You've posted the link, good, in the IRC chat.
Yes, posted the link, and so did Mike. So excellent. But I agree, finding it through the wiki is probably the great way to do it. But if you're used to seeing the wiki porting guide, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. David has done a wonderful job at giving you a lot more documentation and updating things. Yeah, so check it out.
We've got some questions coming in now in order to shut us up, although actually technically it doesn't shut us up because it makes us talk more when there's questions. but at least it makes us talk about the things you want us to talk about. Forgive my disco webcam that for some reason decides to freak out every so often and flicker madly. Some people like it, but yeah, apologies. Let me know if it does start freaking out when I'm not looking at it. So the first question we've got is from Aquarius, Stuart Langridge. Hello, Stuart. He says, quite a long question. I really don't think I understand how the frameworks and version numbers work. Like, my BQ phone is, I think, 1410, but also it has a release number, R19. So if something doesn't work in that because of a bug, and that bug is marked as fixed in Launchpad, how can I know if the bug fix has arrived on my phone and on others' phones so I can release an app which needs the bug fix? It's all terribly confusing. Yeah, you're right, it is a little bit confusing. So we do builds every day, or every other day, mostly during the week. We have cron jobs that generate these builds, and they pull in a certain subset of packages that are in the archive. And obviously the teams who are working on the various components in the platform are fixing bugs as we go, and they land those things in the archive, and then the next time an image is built the next day or later that day, it may include that package, so that bug may be fixed. And the idea would be that the developer would set that to be fixed release. The bug would be marked fixed release in Launchpad. The problem is that the developer will mark it fixed release for the version of the package. So let's say, for example, it was a Unity 8 bug. It would be marked as fixed released, and then it would give the Unity 8 package version number, which is no good if you're trying to correlate that to the framework version 1410 or the image version 19 or 20 or whatever. So we actually have a changelog page, and these are generated by various jobs. I can provide you with a link offline. I don't know off the top of my head right now, but I know both Oliver Ogra and Lucas Semek has a page in their people.canonical.com. It's not especially easy to find, but there are pages which detail exactly which image contains which packages. The problem gets worse, actually, because the daily builds, the numbers aren't consistent. So, for example, I'm on build like 200 or something, and the build goes up every day as a new build is created. And then at some point, QA that image and prove that it is improved and not regressed from the last promoted image. So, for example, Stuart says he's got version 19 on his phone, image number 19. I have image number 200, but actually, or whatever the image is, the 19 relates to like image 150 or something, and then 50 more images have been created, and then if the image that I'm currently running on my phone gets promoted, that would become image 20 in the channel that you're looking at, because we have separate channels. You're on a more stable channel than I'm on. I'm seeing revisions every day. You're seeing one every couple of weeks or so. So I agree it is confusing, and we should make it easier for developers to find out what version of what packages is in which image. But it's, yeah, we need to fix that. And I'll speak to Oliver and Lucas about that, because it does need to be made more obvious. I know Lucas sends out a daily email whenever things change, but it's not immediately obvious. I agree. Sorry for the lengthy answer there.
While you were chatting, Poppy, I did link those things in IRC for those who are watching currently to Lucas's information, and then on developer.ubuntu.com you can see a little bit more about the different image channels. But I think the issue you'll find with the change logs is that they only are for the daily builds, and there's no commit log, shall we say, for the specific release version. So if he's running R19, which is a stable version, there's no commit log for it.
Right. So, and that goes back to the
your explanation, yeah.
Right. Yeah. The fact that there's two channels and the numbers don't correlate.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Should we move on to the next question? I think we can.
For sure.
So I think the next one is from. Oh no, I've scrolled down too far. Hang on.
I think Dragon is asking, when can we expect the first Ubuntu tablets?
Good question. Let's get the phones out of the way first. Let's actually ship some phones first, and then we'll look at tablets. I know there's work going on at the moment to make the tablet user interface, more work better when in landscape, and the whole shell rotation stuff is being worked on actively. I just don't know when the first tablets will arrive. Just don't
know. Stuart is back again. He says, I'm sorely tempted to buy a Pebble time watch, but there's no Ubuntu app for it. I can build phone apps with their Cloud IDE from Ubuntu, but I can't actually pair the watch, and the protocol is not open. So he's wondering, is anyone from Canonical talking to Pebble?
I don't know. I did see that Chimmy on who is a Canonical person on Twitter tweeted to the Pebble developers saying, "Hey, I work for Canonical on Ubuntu. I could help you port that stuff." Whether he got a response or not, I don't know. And that was an informal conversation on Twitter. I don't know if the commercial apps team are talking to Pebble. It would be good if they were. I would imagine MWC is a good place for them to have that conversation this week, along with every other conversation they're having with potential commercial partners. But the short answer is I just don't know. What's next?
Next.
There's one from Andrew Hazen, I think is the next one. It's directed at you, Nick.
Yeah.
Is there a larger focus on QML tests over autopilot tests this time around?
Yes, that's the short answer. And to help with that, we want to. So the dashboard, obviously, the first version I have is just going to show autopilot tests. Actually, to be fair, but we need you guys, core app developers, and anyone else to go ahead and file some bugs for needed QML tests. I believe there's one sitting out there now. So it will show both, but it's basically just going to be the autopilot test because there's only one bug for QML tests. So if you have a need for a QML test and you want some help, file a bug.
Excellent. Next question. I don't have the word question on highlight, so I'm scrolling through looking for.
I should do that. That's a brilliant idea. Put question on highlight.
Yeah, I used to, and then I reset my IRC client. So I've been joined by my cat. He just climbs up onto me like this, unfortunately.
I think. I think GMB has the next question. Maybe he says, "Do you know what the face button does on the Meizu device?"
So, is that the button at the bottom
Right.
I don't, because I don't have a Meizu device, so I don't know what that does.
Right. Michael actually answers and says nothing at the moment, which is correct. I don't know what they might be planning. I did hear inklings that maybe that button would do something,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the answer is nothing, and I don't know.
Yeah, it would make sense to do something, given it is a single button. Be good to map that to something.
Right. Yeah, that could be cool.
Cool.
What else? Did I miss? Someone has a question but didn't prefix it. Let's see. Asking about Deco.
Oh, I did see that, but they didn't prefix it with a question. Yes, this was Ubuntunator said, "This is a stupid question." It's never a stupid question. Well, some questions are stupid. I don't think this one is. He can't figure out how to move an email in Deco on his Nexus 7 from the inbox to another folder. Where is the move option? That's a good question. I've never actually tried to move. I only use Deco to read my email. In fact, I can't remember the last time I ever moved an email from anywhere to anywhere else, because I use Gmail. So I just read my email and then archive it, and I assume archiving sends it to some big bin in the sky somewhere. So actually, I don't know how you move it. The two best things to do is, if you discover a gap in functionality in Deco, then I would strongly recommend filing bugs, because Dan and Boren, who work hard on Deco, haven't necessarily covered every single use case that you might have, and there may be gaps in functionality, and if it's an important gap that you think should be covered, then by all means file a bug. But also informally, there's an IRC channel for Deco. It's just Deco, Dekko. If you drop by Deco, we're all lurking in there, and we chat during the day about the best email client that there is on Ubuntu Touch. And if you ask any questions, then Dan and Boren tend to lurk in there, and they'll answer your questions in there as well.
Yeah, I'm also with Popey. I never physically move email. If there is an issue where email is not in the right place, I update my filter.
Right. Yeah. And in the past, in a past life, I used to use Thunderbird, or Evolution, and I used to grab hold of emails and move them to folders. And now I realise life is too short to be moving email. So I let automated robots do that for me, so I don't have to do that kind of nonsense.
Obviously, that's not to say your use case is not a valid one, but
yes, of course. I've automated that out of my life. Other people may not have done that. That's fine, and we need to cater for that.
Cool.
So just to follow on from, there's a conversation ongoing in the IRC channel between Mike Hall and Stuart Langridge that follows on from the question he asked earlier about where this information is, and the information is there. The information about what's changed. It's just not in a nice, easy to digest location. So we'll look at making that better, I think.
For sure. Yeah, it would be useful to have that. Obviously, a change log isn't even exactly useful to a developer anyway. We can probably make that a bit easier to grok. So.
Right, but I mean, in this early days where an individual change could affect whether you can publish an app in the store or not, I think the example that Stuart has is he has an app that he would like to publish to the store, but he knows there's a bug in the platform that prevents it from working for some users in some use cases, and so he wants to know, he's tracking that bug, but doesn't know when that's going to land on end users' phones. Although, arguably there aren't that many end users right now, given phones haven't shipped yet. So yeah, that's another matter altogether.
Well,
okay.
For sure. I think we have another question from Dragon, and he says, when will the Touch Application Store get its website? And that is a great question for Bueno. I believe he's promised us this month. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Oh, he promised it this month. Right, it's happening this month then.
Yep.
Yeah. Speak to Martin Albersetti, Bueno, on IRC, and keep nagging him for it. that's a little unfair because they have loads of other stuff to do as well. Every time we come on this and people ask questions like, when can I pay with Bitcoins? When can I tip developers? When can I do pay what you want? And also, when will there be a web store? And when can I press a button in the web store and send apps to my device? All of those questions we forward to Martin Albacetti, and they're on his list. All of those things are on his list. Where they are on his list, that's up to him. He manages that and manages his team. But yeah, that's kind of his department. However, there is a third-party community website that's been created. If you go to appstore.bhdouglas.com, it's unofficial. It's made by a community member who actually just uses the App Store API to scrape the store and find out. It's not scraping. Scraping makes it sound bad. It's using the documented API to pull a list of all the packages that are in the Click store, and their screenshots and the reviews and any data, any metadata about the applications in the store, and publishes it on a web page that gets updated once a day, I think. It's really cool, and actually we all use it to refer to applications because we don't currently have a web store, so it's great that someone was able to in the community, which is the Ubuntu way, isn't it?
Indeed, it's a bit easier than reading the JSON. So. Which is how I used to do it.
It's interesting because if you browse the store on the phone in the web browser, there's an install button for each application. There's if you browse through the store and you find an application that you like the look of, you can click the install button, and on the phone that will send you to the Click Store app on the phone focused on that application, and then you can install it. So it's quite nicely integrated with the Click Store on the phone. So that works quite well.
Indeed.
So no more questions. We're going to finish early if there's no more questions, or we'll have to talk to you about autopilot some more. So if you don't want that to happen, ask more questions.
Indeed, your cat seems quite happy now. He's all settled in.
Yeah. So this guy, Salem, is the other one's here as well on the sofa behind me. He's taken to just climbing on top of me like this at my desk, and he's quite content there.
Dragon's got another excellent question asking about augmented reality. So I'm sure he probably saw as the rest of us. So the VR glasses have sort of been on a run for a while. There was Oculus Rift and all the excitement around that. Now Valve has announced that they too have some VR glasses. It would be interesting.
It would. I don't think we've done anything in that regard. I've not seen any developments in that regard, but I think it will be daft for us not to do something. But I think that, at least in part, could be done via mobile apps to some degree. The simple Google Cardboard method of taking a phone and splitting the screen in half and presenting a different view to each eye. Sure. App developers could do that.
Interesting.
I think when the MX4, the Meizu phone, comes out, I think people will start pushing the SDK a little bit harder because it's a beefier device with more storage, more memory, more cores, more of everything. I think people will start pushing it a little bit harder. I think this is one of the things that I like about the fact that the BQ phone is our first phone. It constrained us and forced us to make sure that everything works on a device with limited resources. And okay, you could argue that a phone with a gig of RAM isn't actually that limited when you compare it with maybe one of the really low-end Firefox OS devices. But it's low-end for us, mid-range phone. So I think there's the benefit that we have to ensure that the user base of BQ customers stuff still works for them, but then we can also have app developers aiming higher with the Meizu devices that are a bit more beefy. I look forward to that.
Let's see. Stuart's asking about the Twitter web app on the phone. So he says, well, the Twitter web app sends notifications when I get a tweet, as does Telegram. Do you know how this miracle is achieved? And are those apps allowed to poll in the background, or is there a server somewhere which now has my credentials and polls Twitter or Telegram and sends push notifications? So he's asking about push notifications, I assume.
Yeah, this is documented somewhere. I'm sure Mike Hall right now is finding the developer.ubuntu.com details about how you set up push notifications.
Go.
Go bot 111. Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but yeah, some kind of polling, I think.
I agree with Popey. I remember there was support added for push notifications, and there's an API, and I don't remember any more details. I guess we'll await bot 119 for the answer for that. GMB asks, what feedback have you had about the Meizu phone? Everything I've seen has been really great. I've been surprised. People are really excited to see what Ubuntu has to offer on a beefier device, and how smooth and cool it is. I especially enjoyed the Meizu tongue-in-cheek picture this morning, with showing the Samsung guys looking at the Meizu phone. So I thought that was fun. But I think for the most part, people are pretty excited. It's a lot of a very powerful device, and as Alan said, there's a lot of potential for app developers to really push the platform in new directions. So. More questions. Let's see. The best asked, do you guys have any plans to implement something similar to Suri or Cortana on Ubuntu? My first question for that is we need a name, obviously.
Right.
I mean, we can't have a voice assistant without a name, so that would be my first task. I would have to understand what we want to call it.
Right. Forget about actually writing or implementing this feature. You just want to give it a cool name.
No, it's going to live or die by the name, so we've got to make sure it's named correctly.
Right. So I think this is where the HUD could have gone. The HUD being a feature that searches or allows you to search activities within applications or menus within applications. That kind of thing would be cool and could be extendable to do other things like show me the weather or whatever. I don't think we're currently working on that kind of stuff. It would be cool. I agree.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
I was going to say, I think Alan's right. The HUD is sort of where we explored that to the extent that we did in the past, and voice activation was one of those features. Maybe a bit before its time, and it might be interesting to see how the HUD evolves both on the phone and in Unity 8, and maybe that'll be something that sort of resurfaces. We'll see.
Cool.
What else? So Michael and Popey have answered the Twitter question, saying that it is indeed a polling service and that there's an API for it. So for those of you who might be watching or interested, you can find it on developer.ubuntu.com. Just search for push or push notification, and you'll see the API there. So
Awesome. Okay, no more questions. Yeah, 30 seconds, and if there's no more questions, then we'll wrap up.
See, there you go. Andrew read your mind.
So Andrew asks, is there any news or ETA for the Today or Nearby scope landing on Nexus devices, or any reason why they can't be in the image? So the last update I had, so the Today scope, you may have seen in screenshots, and is baked into the BQ image. I'm just trying to find it now because I actually have it turned off on my device. There we go. It's baked into the BQ image, so people get it, by default if you've got a BQ phone. But it isn't baked into the image that we provide for Nexus 4. And some of the scopes were developed internally. So the Today scope has kind of, sorry about the glare, but it has kind of, the date, the weather, and, various other things like, calendar events and stuff like that. You may have seen screenshots of this from various people using a BQ phone. And the last time I asked, the person who was responsible for this was off sick. So I will chase this up, and I can see David is answering this as well.
Right.
So yeah, the standard answer we've given for all of these scopes is that some scopes will be generic and will work on any device and should be in the store and should be installable on the device. Some scopes will be manufacturer specific. So it could be that BQ has a partnership with some content provider in Spain, and they provide a scope that they want to deliver to their customers through that partnership. It could be that Meizu has partners in China and they want to deliver their own scope only to their customers of the Meizu MX4 and so on and so on. And that's up to them really, what they do with those scopes, whether they want them to be baked into the image and not in the store for others. So it's a value add for people who bought that device. That's really up to them. But for ones that we've created that are generic, then in general we push them to the store.
Indeed, and so I think it is worth mentioning, as Alan said, that there will always be sort of device manufacturer-specific scopes. And I think we talked about this in the past. I was talking about trying to collect all the scopes, having this this sort of idea of wanting to collect all of them, and so that's obviously just not realistic for several reasons. One of which, as Alan has pointed out in the past, is that if you put that many scopes in your phone, it's not such a nice experience. But certainly, I don't need scopes intended for the Chinese market, or even for the Spanish market, or for South America or wherever. So, just to a large extent, it doesn't affect me in any way. So,
right. I mean, there are some like the generic Nearby and Today, which are, could be seen as canonical scopes, canonical with a small c,
right.
Scopes that would be useful for anyone. And we'll see. I don't have an ETA for that. We have asked, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do
Right.
that.
Is that it?
Yep. Quick, shut the line before anyone asks.
Oh, Ubuntu Native, if you're watching again, we did answer your question earlier. The 2-second answer again is that no, we don't know how to move an email, and yes, you should probably follow bug/ask the developers, and you can join #deco on IRC to do that. So. Cool.
Okay, let's wrap up then. And if you had a question that you didn't get a chance to answer, then by all means save it for next week, or you could drop by one of the many IRC channels that we all lurk in, including Ubuntu community team on Freenode IRC.
Indeed.
We'll be back next week. Well, might not be us, might be Daniel and Mike or David back next week with more of this Q&A nonsense with fewer cats. Look, you can see one of them is trying to get out of the room just there. My kid's
He's ready to be done.
Yeah, he's locked in now. Ha.
Yep. Ha.
Okay. Well, thanks, Nick, and thanks everyone for your questions, and we'll see you again next time.
Yep. See you.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.